On August 30, former YouTuber Ruby Franke faced 2 counts of aggravated child abuse, leading to her arrest. Ruby had previously run a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers since 2016, amassing over 2 million subscribers before deleting it earlier this year. Her channel featured family-centered content, showcasing her husband Kevin and their 6 children: Cherie, 20, Chad, 18, Abby, 16, Julie, 14, Russell, 12, and Eve, 10. While Ruby garnered public attention due to her arrest this year, she had faced criticism in the past over her parenting methods. In 2020, her son Chad claimed in a now-deleted video that his parents had made him sleep on a beanbag for 7 months as punishment for playing pranks on his younger brother, Russell. Ruby and Kevin contended that Chad had chosen the beanbag himself because it was the most comfortable option among those given. In a prior incident, Ruby faced backlash when she revealed that she refused to drop off lunch at school for her daughter Eve, then 6 years old, after being informed by her teacher that Eve had forgotten it. Ruby's response was that Eve should be responsible for making her own lunches, leading to concerns from viewers. Concerns about Ruby's parenting style prompted some viewers to start a petition to send Child Protective Services to her Utah home. However, the case was closed due to insufficient evidence, according to page 6. Ruby later characterized those who signed the petition as malicious individuals seeking to spread hate and take her statements out of context. In recent developments, Ruby was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated child abuse. Last month, one of her children reportedly escaped from the home of her business partner, Jodi, who faced the same charges. Ruby's husband, Kevin, had not been arrested or charged. According to a press release from the Santa Clara Evans Public Safety Department, the escaped child appeared emaciated and malnourished with open wounds and duct tape around the extremities. A neighbor alerted the police when a 12-year-old boy arrived at their doorstep seeking help. Since Ruby's arrest, her eldest daughter, Cherie, expressed relief that justice was being served and revealed past efforts to inform police and CPs about the situation. Cherie had previously distanced herself from the family due to strained relationships. Ruby's sisters, Ellie Measham and Julie Derham, released a joint statement indicating that they had worked behind the scenes to ensure the safety of Ruby's children for the past 3 years. They stated that Ruby's arrest was necessary and that the children were now safe, their top priority. Both Ruby and Jodi have been ordered to be held without bail, and they have not publicly commented on the allegations. The fatal shooting of Trayvon Martin, a catalyst for national debate. On February 26, 2012, in Sanford, Florida, a tragic incident unfolded that would expose deep racial divisions in American society. Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old African-American, had gone to a convenience store and was on his way back when he caught the attention of George Zimmerman, a neighborhood watch volunteer. Zimmerman, concerned about recent burglaries in the area, called the non-emergency line of the Sanford Police Department. During the call, he described Martin as a real suspicious guy and suggested he might be involved in criminal activity or under the influence of drugs. The dispatcher advised Zimmerman not to follow Martin, but he chose to do so, claiming it was to identify a street sign. This decision would lead to a violent confrontation in which Zimmerman fatally shot Martin at close range. When the police arrived, Zimmerman asserted that he had acted in self-defense after being attacked by Martin, who was unarmed, in accordance with Florida's self-defense laws, which allowed for the use of deadly force in such situations. Zimmerman was released without charges. In the following weeks, as Zimmerman remained uncharged, the case garnered increasing attention. On March 12, the Sanford Police Department's chief stated that there was insufficient evidence to file criminal charges against Zimmerman. However, the next day, a police investigator recommended charging Zimmerman with manslaughter, contending that the deadly confrontation could have been avoided. Zimmerman's continued freedom sparked outrage and led to protests across the United States, with many demanding his prosecution for murder. In April 2012, Florida Governor Rick Scott appointed a special prosecutor to take charge of the case, resulting in a second-degree murder charge against Zimmerman. The subsequent trial, which commenced more than a year later in June 2013, received extensive media coverage. The prosecution argued that Zimmerman's actions stemmed from his profiling of Martin as a criminal and an attempt to take the law into his own hand. Conversely, the defense maintained that the evidence supported Zimmerman's account. He had fired his weapon because he believed his life was in danger during the altercation with Martin. Crucially, key elements of the incident remained disputed, including the identity of the person heard screaming for help at an emergency services call. While the initial criminal charge against Zimmerman was second-degree murder, the jury was given the option to consider a lesser charge of manslaughter. To find Zimmerman guilty of either charge, the jury had to conclude not only that he caused Martin's death, but also that he did not do so in self-defense. The concept of self-defense was closely tied to Florida's stand, your ground, law, which permitted the use of deadly force when perceiving a threat. Although the jury received instructions about this law, Zimmerman's lawyers chose not to invoke it, arguing that Zimmerman had no opportunity to retreat, regardless. On July 13, 2013, following over 16 hours of deliberation, the jury found Zimmerman not guilty. Trayvon Martin's tragic death brought to the forefront a national conversation on racial inequality and the persistence of racism in the United States. In March 2012, President Barack Obama, the first black president of the United States, expressed his sorrow over the shooting, stating, "If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon." He later drew parallels between Martin's experience and his own encounters with racial profiling, acknowledging it as a harsh reality faced by many African Americans. Protests continued across the United States in response to the Zimmerman verdict and gave rise to the influential Black Lives Matter social movement, advocating for improved treatment of African Americans in all aspects of American society. Thank you for being with us. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. January 3, 2013. The courtroom drama surrounding the first-degree murder trial of Jodi Arias, accused of the brutal killing of her former boyfriend, Travis Alexander, is set to chronicle the intricate web of events in the investigation into Alexander's 2008 death. It will also delve into Arias's varying accounts of what transpired during their brief relationship. According to investigators, in June 2008, Arias, then 32, committed a gruesome act by stabbing Alexander 27 times, slitting his throat, and fatally shooting him in the head at his Mesa, Arizona residence. Arias, who has been in custody since her arrest, has persistently pleaded not guilty to the first-degree murder charges against her. Since her apprehension later that summer, Arias has oscillated between denying any involvement in the crime, implicating others, and ultimately claiming self-defense after alleging years of abuse. Her trial, commencing on January 2, will paint a picture of what the prosecution describes as a deadly obsession that culminated in the violent death of a young man. Should Arias be convicted, she would join the ranks of the fourth woman on Arizona's death row. In September 2006, the paths of Jodi Arias, then 28, and Travis Alexander, 30, crossed at a work conference in Las Vegas. Arias, who had been residing in Eureka, California, asserted that they fell in love, embarked on cross-country journeys, and, in an effort to strengthen her bond with the devout Mormon, converted to his religion. However, Alexander's friends contend that after a few months of dating, he tried to sever the relationship. As the trial commenced on January 2, prosecutors painted Alexander as a good man who, they claim, was ensnared and subsequently stalked by Arias before meeting his tragic end in a fit of jealousy upon learning of his involvement with other women. The couple's relationship, though brief, was fraught with challenges. In June 2007, Alexander and Arias parted ways, yet maintained a sexual connection. "There's nothing about her that I see as marriage material or wife material," Alexander was quoted as saying by his friend Dave Hall. Defense attorney Jennifer Wilmot asserted another side to the story, contending that Arias was Alexander's dirty little secret. She argued that despite his efforts to project himself as an upstanding man and devout Mormon, he was privately pushing her into a sexual relationship. According to Wilmot, by April 2008, Arias had endured enough and relocated to California. She suggested that it was not Arias who lured Alexander back into her life, but rather Alexander who couldn't let go and persistently pressured her to maintain contact. In the courtroom, the opposing legal teams engaged in a heated battle. Prosecutor Juan Martinez firmly contended that Arias was unquestionably responsible for Alexander's murder. "This is not a case of whodunit," Martinez asserted on January 2. The whodunit is here in court today. She repaid his love by plunging a knife into his chest. She slit his throat as a reward for his decency. Wilmot argued that her client was subjected to abuse and manipulation by Alexander, whom she portrayed as a sexual deviant. Wilmot presented a T-shirt she claimed Alexander had forced Arias to wear, bearing the words "Travis Alexander's." The T-shirt exemplifies how Travis treated her, Wilmot contended. The crime scene held crucial evidence. Following the discovery of Alexander's lifeless body, the authorities located a camera inside his washing machine, suggesting an attempt by Arias to erase incriminating evidence. On the camera's memory card, they found images from their final sexual encounter, snapshots of Alexander in the shower just moments before his death, and accidental pictures taken as the camera fell. One of these images displayed Alexander's bloodied body, while another showed Arias dragging his lifeless form. On July 9, 2008, her 29th birthday, a California grand jury indicted Arias on first-degree murder charges in connection with Alexander's death. She entered a not guilty plea during her arraignment on September 11, 2008. During a series of jailhouse interviews since her arrest, Arias frequently altered her account of events. Initially, she denied being present at Alexander's residence on the night of the murder, but 2 weeks later, in an interview with Inside Edition, she admitted to being there, claiming to have witnessed a brutal attack by 2 unidentified individuals. Now, Arias acknowledges killing Alexander, but insists it was in self-defense after he allegedly assaulted her when she accidentally dropped his new camera on January 3, 2012. The trial commenced with the testimony of Marie Mimi Hall, who had met Alexander through their Mormon church ward. While their romantic spark never ignited, they maintained a friendship. Hall was the one who first raised concerns after she hadn't heard from Alexander, who had invited her on a work retreat to Cancun, Mexico. She knew about Arias, whom she described as Alexander's stalker. Hall testified that Alexander had experienced slashed tires, threatening emails, stalking on his dates with other women, unauthorized access to his bank accounts, and even Arias sneaking into his house through a doggy door to sleep on his couch. On June 9, 2008, Hall contacted Melissa Lowry and Dallin Flores, who went to Alexander's residence and upon entering his locked room, discovered a gruesome scene. Alexander's lifeless body prompted a frantic call to 911, marking the beginning of a complex and riveting trial.